distinguished representatives, I declare open the second plenary meeting. Today, we will continue consideration of Agenda Item 8, General Debate. States are invited, in accordance with Rule 50 of the Rules of Procedure of the Assembly, to deliver statements of no longer than 5 minutes. Pursuant to the Bureau decision taken on 8 September 2021, the general debate is scheduled to take place this afternoon and tomorrow in the morning and in the afternoon. Given the challenges faced by the coronavirus pandemic, the modalities of holding the general debate include the pre-recorded videos or in-person statements. States in a position to do so are invited to submit written statements only, which would be posted on the website of the Assembly. The updated list of speakers can be found at the ASP website and conference officer's desk. Let us proceed immediately with our first speaker, His Excellency Mr. Ance Logar, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Slovenia, who will speak on behalf of the European Union via a pre-recorded video.
Madam President, I'm honored to address the Assembly of State Parties on behalf of the European Union and its member states. The candidate countries, Republic of Albania, Montenegro, Republic of North Macedonia, Republic of Serbia, the country of the stabilization and association process and potential candidate Bosnia and Herzegovina, the EFTA countries, Republic of Iceland and Kingdom of Norway, members of the European Economic Area, as well as Principality of Andorra, Georgia, Republic of Moldova and Republic of San Marino aligned themselves with this statement. In this capacity, I would like to congratulate the new President of the Assembly, the new President of the Court, the new Prosecutor, as well as the judges elected during the last session of the Assembly. We wish them every success and assure them of our steadfast support. The ICC has faced trying times with resilience, persevering to fulfill its mandate during the pandemic, adjusting to leadership changes and addressing systematic attempts to question its role and legitimacy. New challenges are undoubtedly ahead, and we must be vigilant and ready to support the Court and protect its independence, integrity and mandate. Madam President, this is also a time of invaluable opportunities. The ongoing process of review of the Court's functioning gives us the possibility to strengthen the Rome Statute system and make the Court more efficient and effective. We have high expectations for the review process, and we encourage the ICC and state parties to continue engaging in the follow-up of the independent review and to prioritize, as appropriate, the implementation of its recommendation. It is essential that in this process, the integrity of Rome Statute is preserved and its core principles are not called into question. It is of utmost importance to continue promoting good governance and a healthy work culture that ensures inclusion and gender balance. Equitable geographical distribution, representation of the principal legal system of the world, as well as linguistic diversity are also key. This exercise is a collective effort to which the Court, state parties and the civil society must all contribute. We also invite the Court to continue improving its outreach and communication, including through dialogue with concerned countries, to effectively promote its mandate and activities, as well as to address misperceptions. Madam President, as the Court workload continues to increase, we cannot expect it to deliver high-quality international justice without adequate capacities. We therefore urge all state parties to provide the ICC with the necessary financial resources and to fulfill their obligations to pay the annual contributions in full and on time. Furthermore, we are very concerned about the high amount of errors and urge state parties to pay their outstanding contributions. We also note with concern the serious challenges that the Court continues to face in relation to its requests for cooperation, including the execution of its outstanding arrest warrants. We therefore call upon all states to ensure full cooperation with the Court, including by granting voluntary cooperation whenever that is needed. There is protection and relocation of victims and witnesses. Interim release and the enforcement of sentences are all integral part of the international criminal procedure, and the relevant burden should be shared equitably among the states parties, including, as appropriate, through voluntary cooperation agreement. The Court also needs increased cooperation in the area of financial investigation and assets recovery. We should also not forget the victims of atrocity crimes, who are those most affected. While it is impossible to undo their suffering, we trust the Trust Fund for Victims provides repatriation and assistance to the victims and their families and may bring them a measure of peace. We call on all states parties to contribute to the fund. Madam President, long-lasting peace and sustainable development built on justice. We believe that efforts to promote the universality of the Rome Statute can contribute to criminal accountability and justice. The European Union will continue to advocate for the universal ratification of the Rome Statute, which remains our long-term goal, and invites all states that have not yet done so to consider joining the ICC to end impunity for the most serious crimes worldwide. The ICC is at a crucial junction that will shape the years ahead. It is our collective responsibility to ensure that the Court has solid basis from which to address future challenges. The EU and its member states are fully committed to continuing working together with all partners to strengthen international criminal justice and further the work of the ICC. Victims of atrocity crimes are calling for justice. We have high expectations for the Court to narrow the accountability gap and bring perpetrators to justice wherever they are. I thank you.
I thank His Excellency for his statement and now give the floor to Her Excellency Mrs. Maria Ubach Font, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Andorra.
Madame la Présidente, Mesdames et Messieurs les ministres, Mesdames et Messieurs, la Principauté d'Andorre, en tant que pays de petite dimension territoriale, attache une importance particulière à l'existence des règles du système juridique international et au respect de celles-ci. La création de la Cour pénale internationale en 1998 a constitué une avancée historique pour mettre fin à l'impunité des auteurs des crimes les plus graves. C'est pourquoi l'Andorre a soutenu la Cour pénale internationale depuis la rédaction du Statut de Rome et a appuyé les initiatives destinées à l'améliorer. En effet, nous sommes un des 39 États parties à avoir soutenu les amendements sur les crimes de guerre et sur le crime d'agression. Plus récemment, nous avons ratifié l'amendement qui supprimait la disposition permettant à un État de ne pas accepter la compétence de la Cour en matière de crimes de guerre commis sur son territoire ou par ses ressortissants pour une période de 7 ans. Ainsi que l'amendement qui définit comme crime de guerre le fait d'affamer délibérément des civils comme méthode de guerre. Nous soutenons aussi depuis 2008 le travail réalisé par le Fonds au profit des victimes qui assure une réparation et permet aux victimes de retrouver une vie digne à travers des contributions volontaires. Au cours de ces dernières années, le soutien continu de notre pays au Fonds s'est traduit par le financement d'activités intégrant une perspective de genre en République centrafricaine, en République démocratique du Congo et dans le nord de l'Ouganda. En 2020, l'Andorre a contribué au projet de soutien psychosocial et de réinsertion socio-économique de 550 jeunes femmes victimes de violences sexuelles dans le territoire de Walungu, à l'est de la République démocratique du Congo. L'égalité des genres et l'autonomisation des femmes représentent une priorité pour mon pays. En effet, au sein du ministère des Affaires sociales, de la jeunesse et de l'égalité, il existe un service dédié aux politiques d'égalité qui a pour mission de promouvoir et d'améliorer la lutte contre les inégalités et les discriminations subies par les personnes et les groupes les plus vulnérables. Dans ce sens, nous nous félicitons que la Cour ait nommé une coordinatrice pour l'égalité de genre qui aidera les dirigeants de la Cour dans leur effort pour renforcer les politiques liées au genre et résoudre les problèmes liés aux conditions d'emploi des femmes dans l'institution, y compris l'équilibre entre les genres à tous les niveaux d'emploi. Madame la Présidente, Le processus de réforme lancé ces dernières années nous montre que nous sommes résolus à affronter les défis actuels et à améliorer les mécanismes existants. La mise en œuvre des recommandations du groupe d'experts indépendants demande un engagement de la Cour, de l'Assemblée des États parties et des États parties eux-mêmes, afin que ce processus avance le plus rapidement possible. Nous observons avec satisfaction que certaines des recommandations du rapport d'examen font l'objet de réformes, notamment la recommandation 87 sur les aspects judiciaires de la lutte contre l'intimidation et l'harcèlement sur le lieu de travail. Lors de cette 20e session de l'Assemblée des États parties, nous avons l'insigne tâche d'élire 2 procureurs adjoints. L'Andorre est consciente de la haute responsabilité qui leur incombe et favorisera les candidats les plus expérimentés et qualifiés pour exercer ces fonctions afin qu'ils puissent appuyer le procureur dans la mise en œuvre de ces fonctions. Ces derniers, nous en sommes convaincus, apporteront une contribution significative à la lutte incessante contre l'impunité. Nous sommes d'avis que la défense et la promotion de l'état de droit sont un enjeu global pour lequel la coopération internationale et la défense du multilatéralisme sont essentielles. La Cour pénale internationale est en effet le meilleur instrument pour juger les responsables des crimes les plus graves touchant l'ensemble de la communauté internationale et pour lutter contre l'impunité des acteurs et des responsables. À cet égard, il est important d'œuvrer afin que l'objectif d'universalité du statut de Rome soit poursuivi et par conséquent, nous invitons tous les États non partis à y adhérer. En outre, la Principauté d'Andorre a décidé de s'associer à la déclaration de l'Union européenne qui réaffirme son soutien à la Cour afin de promouvoir l'universalité du statut de Rome pour renforcer la justice pénale internationale et faire avancer les travaux de la Cour. Pour conclure, tous les États parties du statut de Rome sont le maillon d'une chaîne qui nécessite la participation de tous et chacun des États membres des Nations Unies. Je vous remercie de votre attention.
I thank Her Excellency for her statement, and now I give the floor to His Excellency Mr. Jean Asselborn, Minister of Foreign and European Affairs of Luxembourg.
Madame la Présidente, Luxembourg d'abord souscrit à la déclaration faite par l'Union européenne. Je voudrais tout d'abord féliciter la nouvelle présidente de l'Assemblée, le nouveau président de la Cour, le nouveau procureur, ainsi que les juges élus lors de la dernière session de l'Assemblée. Le Luxembourg leur souhaite beaucoup de succès. Soyez assurés de notre soutien indéfectible. La lutte contre l'impunité est plus importante que jamais. La CPI a su faire face à des périodes difficiles avec résilience et persévérance afin de remplir son mandat pendant la pandémie, en s'adaptant aux changements et en résistant aux tentatives de mettre en question son rôle et sa légitimité. Alors que la Cour s'acquitte de son mandat judiciaire, il importe que de leur côté, les États partis leur accordent un soutien politique sans faille. Nous sommes tous appelés à soutenir la Cour et à protéger son indépendance. Le Luxembourg s'engage à continuer de soutenir et de défendre les principes et les valeurs consacrées par le statut de Rome et de préserver l'intégrité de la CPI. La justice pénale internationale est d'une importance capitale pour garantir que les auteurs des crimes les plus graves répondent de leurs actes et pour rendre justice aux victimes. Ces dernières doivent être au centre de nos efforts afin de leur garantir l'accès à la justice. Madame la Présidente, la Cour traverse une période de changement et de réflexion qui façonnera son travail dans les années à venir. L'examen par les experts indépendants et les travaux en cours du mécanisme d'examen offrent à la Cour une occasion unique d'améliorer encore son travail pour rendre justice aux victimes dans le monde entier. Dans ce contexte, il importe de maintenir l'attention sur les objectifs clés de la Cour que sont l'obligation de redevabilité et la contribution à la prévention dans un ordre international fondé sur l'état de droit. La protection de l'indépendance du bureau du procureur dans ses travaux en fait partie. Il est tout aussi important de promouvoir une culture de travail assurant l'équilibre entre les femmes et les hommes. Nous notons que la Cour a déjà commencé à mettre en œuvre certaines de ces recommandations des experts indépendants et nous nous félicitons à cet égard de la déclaration de haut niveau sur l'égalité des genres des principaux responsables de la CPI. Une répartition géographique équitable, la représentation des principaux systèmes juridiques du monde ainsi que la diversité linguistique sont également essentielles. Il importe que l'évaluation et la mise en œuvre des recommandations de l'examen des experts indépendants s'effectuent dans une approche inclusive et transparente. Cet exercice est un effort collectif auquel la Cour, les États parties et la société civile doivent tous contribuer. Madame la Présidente, le nombre d'affaires devant la Cour n'a jamais été aussi élevé. Cela résulte du nombre important de conflits à travers le monde qui affectent les populations civiles. Mais cela témoigne également du fait que la Cour commence à réaliser son potentiel afin d'assurer la redevabilité des responsables pour les crimes les plus graves. Afin de pouvoir maintenir ce niveau d'activité, il est essentiel que le budget de la CPI reflète la vision stratégique pour l'avenir de la Cour. La charge de travail de la Cour ne cesse d'augmenter. Nous devons être conscients qu'une justice internationale de grande qualité doit disposer de capacités adéquates. Le Luxembourg s'oppose dès lors à une approche de croissance minimale zéro pour le budget de la CPI. Il importe que nous adoptions lors de cette Assemblée un budget 2022 dotant la Cour des ressources nécessaires pour faire face à la demande croissante de redevabilité et d'améliorer le processus budgétaire actuel. Le Luxembourg demande également instamment à tous les États parties de payer leurs contributions annuelles dans leur intégralité et en temps voulu. Le montant élevé des arriérés est préoccupant et il revient aux États parties concernés de résorber les retards. Nous ne devons pas non plus oublier les victimes des crimes d'atrocité, qui sont les plus touchés. S'il est impossible d'effacer leur souffrance, le fonds, au profit des victimes, leur offre des réparations et une assistance ainsi qu'à leurs familles. Le Luxembourg vient de renouveler sa contribution au fonds et appelle tous les États parties à faire de même. Madame la Présidente, alors que la Cour célébrera les 20 ans de son établissement l'année prochaine, elle demeure au centre de l'effort international visant à assurer la redevabilité pour les crimes les plus graves à maintenir l'état de droit. La CPI se trouve à une étape cruciale qui façonnera les années à venir. Il est de notre responsabilité collective de veiller à ce que la Cour dispose d'une base solide pour relever les défis futurs. Le Luxembourg est fermement résolu à contribuer, de collaborer avec tous les partenaires pour renforcer la justice pénale internationale et pour faire avancer les travaux de la Cour. Les victimes méritent que justice leur soit rendue. Ne les décevons pas. Elles attendent à juste titre de la Cour qu'elle mette tout en œuvre pour assurer la redevabilité et traduire en justice les auteurs de ces crimes, où qu'ils se trouvent. Il nous revient de soutenir collectivement la Cour dans ses efforts et je vous remercie.
I thank His Excellency for his statement, and now I give the floor to His Excellency Mr. Pekka Haavisto, Minister for Foreign Affairs of Finland.
Madam President, Finland aligns itself with the statement delivered today on behalf of the European Union. The International Criminal Court and the Rome Statute system are undergoing a period of change, review and reflection. Allow me to congratulate you on your election as the President of the Assembly and through you the new President of the Court, the new Prosecutor, as well as the judges elected during the last session of the Assembly. You can count on Finland's unwavering support to the ICC. The new leadership brings along new energy and ideas. This is timely as we are in the midst of an extensive process of reviewing the functioning of the ICC and the Rome Statute system. Renewed dynamism is even more important as the workload of the court is increasing. Madam President, state parties must ensure that the court has adequate resources to deliver justice. Delaying proceedings is not an option. The human and financial costs are unacceptable. All state parties have a legal obligation to pay their contributions in full and on time. We must consider all measures to prevent the liquidity crisis faced by the ICC in 2 consecutive years. State parties can nonetheless expect the court to fulfill its mandate efficiently and effectively. The ongoing review process is valuable in guiding the way. With the support and sufficient funding from state parties, the ICC should harness new technologies to aid its work. I welcome the emphasis that the review process has put on advancing gender equality at the ICC. The court urgently needs more women in senior positions. All appointments should be merit-based, and the Advisory Committee on Nominations plays an important role with regard to the judicial elections. I am proud to note the election of Judge Erkki Kourula there too. Madam President, we, the state parties, must sustain our support to the court and its independence against any outside pressures. The ICC is, however, dependent on cooperation from all states to fulfill its mandate. Ending impunity and for atrocity crimes globally also necessitates determined action at national level, as the ICC is a court of last resort. On par with our support to the ICC and national criminal proceedings, we must ensure the safety of civil society activists and human rights defenders who are on the front line gathering evidence on violations of international law. All too often, they are harassed and intimidated to prevent them from providing their findings to the attention of the ICC. Madam President, faced with the existential threats posed by climate change and biodiversity loss, we must use all measures to prevent them. I follow with interest the discussions on the possible international criminalization of ecocide. Bearing in mind the often lengthy process of reshaping international law, I am encouraged of the possibilities to make better use of the Rome Statutes as it stands to address environmental damage. Madam President, as the heart of the Rome Statute is our collective promise to victims of mass atrocities that their voices are heard and that justice will be served. This should never be forgotten. Furthermore, to mitigate the immeasurable harm suffered by the victims, the Trust Fund for Victims was established. I'm glad to announce that Finland will significantly increase its voluntary contribution to the Trust Fund to support its assistance and reparations mandates. I encourage all other states to consider doing the same. I thank you.
I thank His Excellency for his statement, and now I give the floor to His Excellency Mr. Riyad Malki, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Expatriates of the State of Palestine.
Madam President, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, allow me at the outset to say I would have liked to address the Assembly in person as planned. However, the recent surge in COVID cases requires us to adjust and adapt to ensure that we put health and safety first. Regardless the format, the State of Palestine is present to reiterate in the strongest terms its unwavering support to the International Criminal Court and unconditional commitment to defend the independence, legitimacy, and integrity of the Rome Statute system. This principled position goes hand in hand with our commitment to improving the efficiency and effectiveness of the system. We find ourselves yet again at the end of a particularly challenging year. While progress continues on many fronts, including the review mechanism, there is still much work to be done. We see the need to focus on strengthening the court in 3 areas. First, the protection and defense of the court, its officials and personnel. While we were pleased to see the sanctions lifted against targeted ICC officials, personnel, as well as persons associated with the court, the danger is not over yet. We need to continue our work as state parties to oppose efforts to undermine the court's work and independence. It is crucial that as state parties to the ASP, we develop a strategy to respond to and confront unsubstantiated and biased attacks on the court by non-state parties. We must ensure that any measures made against the ICC, its officials, or those cooperating with the court are met with strong condemnation and confronted with effective measures. Indeed, civil society organizations and human rights defenders play an indispensable role in the pursuit of justice for victims around the world and working with the court, especially in instances where the OTP is unable to access such countries. The court needs this assistance and these partners to fulfill its mandate properly and in a timely fashion. We must ensure that they are able to continue their efforts in a protected and supported environment. But many of these partners are facing increased dangers and threats, and they require our protection. Only a month ago, Israel, the occupying power, unlawfully criminalized the work of 6 Palestinian civil society organizations, which are some of the few experts on the work of the court in our region. It is blatantly clear that the intention and effect of such a declaration is to prevent Palestinian human rights defenders from assisting the OTP in its investigation and impede access to international justice and accountability. Israel's criminalization of Palestinian NGOs is an attack on international justice, and if allowed to proceed without consequences, this Israeli assault on human rights defenders will embolden other states to follow suit and have a chilling effect on the work of NGOs worldwide. Naturally, this assault has been denounced by hundreds of organizations, experts, and states. I urge all state parties and the prosecutor to take concrete steps to defend these civil society organizations against such persecution, and in so doing, defend the values and principles of the Rome Statute, as well as the work and mandate of the court. The second area of focus is the effectiveness and impact of the court. Today, the need for and importance of the court could not have been made more apparent. Chronic and relentless commission of war crimes and crimes against humanity continue unabated. We want to see the court maintaining the very highest legal standards and conducting efficient, timely, and effective investigations and prosecutions. This year, the investigation of the situation in Palestine was finally opened. However, we note with concern that despite spending 6 years under preliminary examination, the investigation is only in the planning phase. Of equal concern is the considerable discrepancy in the allocated resources between investigations undertaken by the court. This does not seem to align with the goal of expeditiousness, and it must be addressed. Third, we would like to stress the centrality of victims in the Rome Statute system, including their meaningful participation at all stages of proceedings. It is often difficult for victims in such countries to understand why it takes so long to come to preliminary findings. Court proceedings are subjected to procedural requirements, but there is no manual that sets a guideline or a time frame for grief and suffering. This needs to change. Allow me to conclude by saying that if we are to fulfill the objective of the Rome Statute, Our commitment to accountability must be demonstrable and unwavering. The escalating encroachment on civil society, including in Palestine, presents us with a test we cannot and must not fail. We have an obligation to work together to ensure that both the court and those cooperating with it, including officials, are protected from intimidation, harassment, incitement, and state-sponsored spy wars that threaten personal security and lives as well as international justice. Thank you for your kind attention.
I thank His Excellency for his statement, and I now give the floor to His Excellency Mr. David J. Francis, Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation of Sierra Leone.
Madam President, the Republic of Sierra Leone congratulates you on your election as President of the Assembly of States Parties and commend you on your driven and excellent leadership. Similarly, as this is the first Assembly General debate during their respective terms in office, I congratulate the President of the International Criminal Court, Judge Piet Hofmanski, and Prosecutor Mr. Karim Assad Ahmad Khan on their respective elections. In this 20th session of the ASP, heralded by leadership changes in the court, I also congratulate the 6 newly elected judges, including Judge Mieta Maria Samba of Sierra Leone. I use this opportunity to thank all states parties that supported Judge Samba and also applaud the gender parity achieved in the judiciary with the election of 6 new judges. Sierra Leone fully appreciates that the leadership of the court, in particular both the President and Prosecutor, are already engaged with work on strengthening the court, one of the key priorities of the presidency of the ASP and the Assembly as a whole. Madam President, since the court began sittings in July 2002, Sierra Leone notes that the ICC is in a consequential time, albeit a period with full optimism, given the seamless leadership transitions in the court, its ongoing review process, and the constructive resolution of external threats. Ultimately, there is momentum to complete the review process to strengthen the court with a focus on achieving impartial justice for atrocity crimes without fear or favor, and being responsive to the plight of the victims. Sierra Leone therefore commends the court for the remarkable business continuity and judicial developments despite the continuing challenges of the COVID-19 global pandemic. Fundamentally, the wheels of international justice continue to turn at the ICC, with the regrettable continuing perpetration of atrocity crimes globally. The relevance of the ICC's mandate cannot be overemphasized. Consequently, Sierra Leone agrees with the vision of the court being a universal, responsive, flexible, and resilient organization with a consistent outlook towards continuous improvement. A critical part to achieve this vision of the court is through the successful completion of the review process. That is why Sierra Leone has been actively engaged in the review and the work of the review mechanism. I take this opportunity to commend the review mechanism for the work done and results achieved thus far, including the adoption of the Comprehensive Action Plan and the assessment of prioritized recommendations agreed to be undertaken by the second half of 2021. Sierra Leone would urge for continued support and constructive engagement with the review mechanism and the ASP mandates undertaking the review-related work aimed at improving the performance, efficiency, and effectiveness of the court's operation. We'll also welcome and commend the court and its focal points for their efforts in the review process. Madam President, Sierra Leone once again reiterate our unwavering support for the court as an independent and impartial judicial institution. And this restatement of support to the court is a way of reiterating our commitment to the victims. We recall and restate that at the heart of the work of the court are the victims, on whose behalf we have this accountability system. We therefore acknowledge and commend the Trust Fund for Victims for the discharge of its mandate. It is in recognition of the important work of the Trust Fund for Victims that the government of Sierra Leone, on the recommendation of the Judicial and Legal Service Commission, nominated Mr. Ibrahim Suri Gila for election to the one seat allocated to African states in the election of members of the boards of the Trust Fund for the benefit of victims. With this recognized competence in the assistance of victims of serious crime, Sierra Leone extends its thanks for your support. In closing, Madam President, let me use this occasion to pay tribute to the Deputy Prosecutor, Mr. James Stewart, for his commitment and outstanding contributions to the court as he completes his term in office. As we proceed to elect 2 new Deputy Prosecutors this session, it is important that the universal character of the court be reinforced by not only gender and linguistic representations, but significantly equitable geographical representation in all aspects of the work of the court. I thank you.
I thank His Excellency for his statement, and now I give the floor to Her Excellency Ms. Dominique Hassler, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Education and Sport of Liechtenstein.
Madam President, the meeting of the Assembly of State Parties is taking place at an important moment for the International Criminal Court, and indeed for us state parties. It is all the more regrettable that we are yet again deprived by the circumstances created by the pandemic from gathering in person and to engage in direct contact with each other and the representatives of the court. We wish to express our strong support to you in these challenging times. This session of the Assembly marks a moment both of opportunity and of challenge. The process initiated by the independent expert review can bring the court and state parties together in a new way that allows for constructive cooperation and results in stronger performance and overall impact of the court. We all wish to see efficient and successful judicial proceedings, the best possible use of the resources allocated to the court, and of course, additional progress in the area of universality. We are encouraged by the measures the court has already taken in the area of management, in particular, and hope that we can continue on this path in order to achieve our common goals. As state parties, we must be prepared to extend full political, diplomatic and financial support to stand up against political attacks against the court. And in doing so, we must show full respect for the basic principles and integrity of the Rome Statute. In particular, judicial independence, impartiality, and the principle of the complementarity as provided for in Article 17 of the treaty. We will only be successful in this effort if we also look at ourselves as state parties and agree on ways to step up our own efforts and to improve our own performance. Madam President, the main strength of the ICC remains the Rome Statute. The high quality and outstanding relevance of the treaty should be appropriately celebrated in the coming year, as we celebrate 20 years of the court's operations. The Rome Statute has stood the test of time and is one of the biggest achievements in the area of treaty making in the past 3 decades. The upcoming anniversary is an important opportunity for us state parties to fully embrace the integrity of the treaty as a whole, whose main parameters should not be subject to discussions or attempts of reinterpretation. At the same time, the Rome Statute must continue being a living document. We recall that the treaty was completed in Kampala when we agreed by consensus on the inclusion of a definition and jurisdiction parameters with regard to the crime of aggression. We are encouraged that more than a third of state parties have ratified the Kampala amendments on the crime of aggression, with Italy soon to become the 42nd state to do so. We have also made other important updates to the Rome Statute, in particular with respect to the jurisdiction over war crimes reflected in Article 8. I am pleased to announce today that the Liechtenstein Parliament has ratified the amendment to Article 8 of the Rome Statute regarding weapons which use microbial or other biological agents or toxins, as well as the amendment relating to intentionally using starvation of civilians as a method of warfare. The Liechtenstein Parliament has also ratified the amendment with regard to Article 124 of the Rome Statute, accepting the deletion of this transitional provision. We will deposit our relevant instruments of ratification early next year. We must remain open to discussing other amendments to the treaty, reflecting the progressive development of international law when necessary. Madam President, one of the most pertinent discussions with respect to the international law is the question of its application to cyberspace. These discussions are unfolding in several fora at the United Nations in particular. But indeed, we must include the Rome Statute and international criminal law more generally in this analysis. This is why, together with 10 other state parties to the Rome Statute, we created a council of advisors that helped produce an in-depth examination of the application of the Rome Statute to cyber warfare. The Council reached the unanimous conclusion that the Rome Statute provisions indeed apply to
Mesdames et messieurs, alors...
We will suspend for a few minutes. There seems to be a technical issue.
We created a council of advisors that helped produce an in-depth examination of the application of the Rome Statute to cyber warfare. The Council reached the unanimous conclusion that the Rome Statute provisions indeed apply to cyber warfare.
Well, I am very sorry, but it seems that this technical issue cannot be solved. We will try to do it later to see whether there is a problem with the video itself or its reproduction. But now we will continue with the next speaker on our list, who is His Excellency, Mr. Jean-Yves Le Drian, Minister for Europe and Foreign Affairs of France.
Nous apprêtons à célébrer l'an prochain le 20e anniversaire de l'entrée en vigueur du statut de Rome. Je veux tout d'abord réitérer le plein soutien de la France à la Cour pénale internationale. À ce jour, la CPI demeure l'unique juridiction pénale internationale à vocation universelle et a donc un rôle essentiel à jouer dans la prévention et la répression des crimes les plus graves qui portent atteinte à notre commune humanité. Notre soutien est d'abord un soutien politique sans faille face aux attaques dont la Cour peut faire l'objet, et nous appelons l'ensemble des États parties à s'unir pour renouveler leur engagement commun à l'égard de la Cour. Il ne s'agit pas de politiser son travail, mais de préserver sa capacité d'action. La Cour doit pouvoir agir en toute indépendance et impartialité dans le cadre défini par le statut de Rome. Le bureau du procureur doit pouvoir exercer ses prérogatives sans entrave ni obstruction. Nous ne saurions transiger sur ces exigences. Notre soutien à la Cour est aussi un soutien opérationnel. La France est le premier État à coopérer avec elle, en dehors des États où se sont déroulés les faits visés par des enquêtes. Nous mobilisons aussi l'ensemble des acteurs judiciaires français. En témoigne l'accord sur l'exécution des peines récemment signé par notre garde des Sceaux. Notre soutien se traduit également sur le plan financier. Fin 2020, nous avons versé une contribution exceptionnelle de 150 000 €, complétée cette année par 70 000 € supplémentaires. Cet investissement, qui s'ajoute à notre contribution obligatoire au budget ordinaire de la Cour, a vocation à accompagner les actions de renforcement des capacités judiciaires des États parties en vue de favoriser la coopération avec la Cour. Il va de pair avec notre engagement aux côtés du Sénégal en tant que facilitateur du groupe de travail sur la coopération de cette Assemblée. Cet engagement financier doit donc permettre de renforcer la mise en œuvre des principes de complémentarité et de coopération qui fondent le système du statut de Rome pour une seule finalité, mettre un terme à l'impunité, que ce soit au plan local ou en actionnant la compétence de la Cour. Il servira par exemple à des formations en matière d'identification et de gel des avoirs. Nous contribuons aussi au renforcement des ressources humaines de la Cour. Depuis cette année, la France participe au programme de jeunes experts associés et soutient le programme de stage proposé aux jeunes talents, issus notamment des pays en développement francophone. Vous pouvez aussi compter sur l'engagement de la France dans le suivi de la revue de la Cour établie et menée par cette Assemblée, qui doit contribuer à rendre plus efficaces les travaux de la Cour et à renforcer sa légitimité. Au nom de la France, je veux également saluer l'engagement des équipes de la CPI qui a permis de garantir la continuité de ses activités en dépit des contraintes dictées par la crise sanitaire. Et les résultats sont là, les condamnations prononcées et l'avancée des procès montrent que ces efforts ont porté leurs fruits au profit de la justice et des victimes. Par ailleurs, le mémorandum signé avec les autorités soudanaises, l'ouverture de 2 nouveaux procès annoncés pour 2022 ou encore les ordonnances de réparation pour les victimes constituent des avancées importantes et attestent l'engagement de la Cour pour faire progresser les affaires qui sont portées devant elle. Nous savons cependant que la Cour fait toujours face à d'importants défis de fonctionnement. Le défi de la confiance avec les États parties, mais aussi les États non parties au statut de Rome. Il y va de l'efficacité même de la Cour, puisque l'avancée de ces procédures dépend de la coopération avec les États. Un bilan de l'impact des sanctions imposées par la précédente administration américaine sur la Cour, ainsi que sur une partie de ses personnels et de ses soutiens, doit également être réalisé. La CPI doit enfin moderniser et rendre plus efficace son mode de fonctionnement et la gestion de son administration alors que ses ressources sont contraintes. La France est prête à l'y aider. En cette année, marquée par un renouvellement important de plusieurs hauts représentants de la Cour, nous saluons en particulier l'élection du nouveau procureur ainsi que celle du nouveau président de la Cour. Je me réjouis que tous les chefs d'organes aient pris la mesure de ces défis et que des engagements aient été pris pour répondre à l'appel au changement envoyé dès 2019 par les États parties, dont la France. La volonté du procureur de mieux prioriser les situations est à cet égard très positive. Cela permettra de faire avancer plus rapidement les procédures, ce qui est indispensable à la bonne administration de la justice. Je souhaite enfin rappeler l'attachement de la France à deux principes importants du statut de Rome. L'équilibre des traditions juridiques au sein de la Cour et sa diversité linguistique qui passe notamment par l'usage effectif des deux langues de travail de la Cour qui est indispensable pour rendre justice aux victimes dans une langue qu'ils comprennent. La Cour pénale internationale, mesdames et messieurs, est une institution encore relativement jeune. Notre responsabilité collective est de la renforcer. Vous pouvez bien sûr compter sur la détermination de la France. Je vous remercie.
I thank His Excellency for his statement, and now I give the floor to Right Honourable Elizabeth Truss, Secretary of State for Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Affairs and Minister for Women and Equalities of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland.
Madam President, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, the UK cares deeply about international criminal justice and ensuring accountability for the most serious crimes. This is fundamental to our foreign policy and our belief in the rules-based international system. It's why we remain a strong supporter of the ICC. It plays a crucial role in entrenching the rule of law. And over the past year, the Court has seen some real successes. With the pandemic still impacting how we work, the Court's delivered a verdict in the case of Dominic Ongwen. And it's confirmed the conviction of Bosco Ntaganda, who was found guilty of various war crimes and crimes against humanity, including sexual enslavement and rape. It is grotesque that sexual violence is still used as a weapon of war. And we want to build a new consensus with partners across the world to condemn it as a red line, with all options on the table, including an international convention, to stop sexual violence in conflict. I hope I'll be able to rely on your support to hold perpetrators to account, including through this court, and to put an end to these heinous acts. The court has seen significant change in recent months. At last year's Assembly of States Parties, we argued the election of the best possible judges and prosecutor were vital to the future of the ICC. So we're very pleased that since then, 6 new judges have been elected to the court. This includes the excellent Judge Joanna Corner from the UK. We wish all of the judges every success as they consider cases coming before the court. The court has also opened a new chapter under Prosecutor Karim Khan. He should enjoy the support of all states parties in his work to hold the guilty to account and provide redress to victims. We'll further strengthen the court by continuing our essential efforts towards reform. We believe these should be focused on 3 areas. First, through improvements to governance. The court must be seen to be making its decisions and conducting effective investigations and prosecutions to the highest legal standards. This needs greater focus on professionalism in all aspects of the court's work. Second, we need to see a clear and consistent approach to the practical application of the complementary principle, whereby the ICC steps in only as the last result, where national authorities are genuinely unable or unwilling to investigate or prosecute. Third, the court should take a more rigorous approach to ensuring it prioritises effectively, making the best use of available resources, and being realistic about what can be achieved. Last year, we welcomed the recommendations of the independent expert review. By implementing those recommendations, we will deliver a truly inclusive process of reform. This should be a priority for all of us over the coming year. Of course, we recognise that meaningful reform cannot be achieved overnight. It requires careful, determined effort over a sustained period. So we must stick at it, and we must keep the momentum up. I commend the ICC for the work so far. We have to keep working together to end impunity for the most serious crimes of international concern and achieve justice for victims. You can be assured of the UK's enduring commitment to that end.
I thank Her Excellency for her statement and now give the floor to Her Excellency Ms. Ann Linde, Minister for Foreign Affairs of Sweden.
Madam President, it's a great pleasure to address this 20th Assembly of State Parties. Allow me to congratulate you, Madam President, on taking up your position earlier this year, as well as Prosecutor Karim Khan and the new judges. You can count on Sweden's full support. Accountability and the fight against impunity are top priorities for my government's foreign policy. Sweden has consistently expressed our steadfast support for the integrity and independence of the court, and I want to express our sincere appreciation to the court, its officials and supporters around the world for their tireless efforts to end impunity for the most serious crimes of international concern. Universal ratification of the Rome Statute lies at the heart of the promise of the ICC and, more broadly, international justice. Perceptions of selective justice must be countered with more state parties, more support for the court, and more justice, not less. Madam President, in order to end impunity, all state parties to the Rome Statute, as well as non-party states as required in the case of Security Council-referred cases, must do their utmost to fulfill their obligation to cooperate with the ICC. The ICC is a court of last resort only at the court's success lies in its complementary nature. The prosecutor is reaching out to states parties to further deepen cooperation in this regard, and Sweden stands ready to engage with the court. Swedish prosecutors are active in prosecuting international crimes, not least with regards to the situation in Syria. Sweden continues to call for a referral of the situation in Syria and in Myanmar to the ICC, which would ensure that the court can investigate the full scope of Rome Statute crimes. Sweden calls on all states to investigate and prosecute serious international crimes and ensure that they have the appropriate domestic legislation in place to do so. I'm also pleased to announce that Sweden has ratified the Kampala amendments. Madam President, the ongoing review process of the court and its organs represent an invaluable opportunity for the court, its organs and the state parties to further strengthen the Rome Statute and ensure it remains a modern instrument which can aptly respond to emerging threats. The independent expert review provides clear guidance on how the court can work more effectively and improve management and a healthier working environment with zero tolerance to bullying and sexual harassments. We must maintain the momentum to reform the court. Sweden welcomes the due diligence measures taken ahead of the election of deputy prosecutors and underscores the importance of the establishment of a permanent vetting mechanism for all elected officials. Madam President, the court must be provided with the necessary resources to be able to effectively carry out its mandate. Sweden is concerned by the financial pressure placed on the court due to states' late or outstanding contributions. We call on all state parties to pay their contributions in full and on time. In order to make justice meaningful for victims of the atrocity crimes, the Rome Statute provides for reparative justice for victims. Sweden has been the largest contributor to the Trust Fund for Victims, with total contribution of approximately 3 million euros during the period of 2019 to 2021. I encourage other state parties to contribute to the fund. Finally, Madam President, I would like to extend a special thank you to our civil society colleagues. We highly value the constructive engagement with us and the court in our common endeavor to maintain and strengthen the operation of the ICC, and we condemn any threats to our pressure on the CSO's cooperation with investigators. I thank you.
I thank Her Excellency for her statement and now give the floor to His Excellency Mr. Nikos Christodoulides, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Cyprus.
Madam President, it is with great pleasure that I address the 20th Assembly of the State Parties of the Rome Statute. On behalf of the Government of the Republic of Cyprus, allow me to congratulate the President, the new prosecutor of the court, as well as the judges that were elected during the last session. We wish you every success in your noble and very important task and assure you of our support and commitment to promoting the work of the court and to safeguarding the international justice architecture of which the International Criminal Court is an indispensable part. The significance of the Court's mission cannot be underestimated or undervalued. The continual human rights violations and challenges across the globe render the need for an impartial, effective and efficient accountability mechanism more pressing than ever. One of the most important areas we all need to focus on is cooperation. The Statute of Rome, on which the Court is founded, is based on the principle of complementarity and is therefore reliant to a large extent on the cooperation of state parties. We must not only strive for the universal ratification and full implementation of the Rome Statute, it is also imperative that we safeguard the principles of independence and impartiality that underpin the Rome Statute as a means of achieving universality. For Cyprus, as a member of the Asia-Pacific Group in the United Nations, the universality gap is even more obvious, and we are convinced that ICC needs to have the strongest possible cross-regional character. In this endeavour, preserving the integrity of the Rome Statute system is essential, especially today given the increase in hostilities and repression worldwide. We need to reaffirm our collective commitment to the goal we set out in 1998 when the Court was established. Cooperation is not limited to commitments under the Statute of Rome. It also extends to the capacity and capability to adequately deliver international justice. The threats and obstacles faced by the Court are unfortunately both internal as well as external. That is why we believe that the ongoing work of the review mechanism will help to strengthen the Court, encourage the development of a healthy working culture, whilst respecting independence and enhancing the credibility and legitimacy of the Court. How otherwise can misconceptions and attempts to undermine the work and impartiality of the Court be addressed? Politically, we need to work on increasing acceptance and ensuring greater cooperation between the Court and non-state parties, including the United Nations, in order to protect judicial and prosecutorial independence and integrity. The issue of outstanding arrest warrants is particularly important in this respect. In parallel, we must ensure the availability of adequate financial resources to enable the Court to fulfill its obligations. This means delivering on pledges and commitments. I would like to assure you that, as a current facilitator for the 2022 budget, Cyprus will act as an honest broker to achieve the best end result, given the need for the Court to deliver upon its mandates while being conscious of the difficult financial environment created by the pandemic in many state parties. At the same time, we must not forget the Trust Fund for Victims of Atrocities. Cyprus will continue to contribute to this fund, which we feel is of increasing significance given the assistance it provides to the victims of such heinous crimes. Madam President, we cannot stress enough the importance of an impartial and independent international criminal court, free from any interference and able to provide justice, holding perpetrators accountable for grave crimes, including sexual and gender-based violence, violence against children, war crimes, crimes against humanity, and genocide. While we have witnessed some positive developments in the past year, most notably the lifting of US economic sanctions and visa restrictions against the Court, we must remain vigilant and collectively renew our commitment to support and protect the International Criminal Court and its mandate. Thank you.
I thank His Excellency for his statement and now give the floor to His Excellency Mr. Hubertus Petrus Maria Knappen, Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Netherlands.
Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, at the Nuremberg trials, the British prosecutor Sir Hartley Shawcross said something remarkable. He proclaimed that the state is not an abstract entity. Its rights and duties are the rights and duties of men. He argued that politicians should not be able to seek immunity behind the intangible personality of the state. He placed fundamental human rights and fundamental human duties at the heart of a new system of international law. It was a radical innovation at the time, but fortunately, it has since become a cornerstone of international criminal law. As we gather here this week for the 20th session of the Assembly of State Parties, I am reminded of these words and of the trial at which they were spoken. Because the International Criminal Court is itself an extraordinary innovation in international law, a unique institution without precedent in world history. It's the first treaty-based court that unites countries from around the world in their ambition to end impunity and to provide justice for the victims of international crimes. The Netherlands is proud to be its host state and is a firm supporter of its work. Accountability and the fight against impunity are key human rights priorities in our foreign policy. So I am pleased to see that the court has a record number of cases on its docket and is making serious strides towards reform. The Netherlands welcomes the first signs of an American return to a policy of constructive engagement, and we are pleased that the US sanctions have been lifted. The court and the ASP are currently going through a period of transition in which they will implement the recommendations that came out of the independent expert review. The Netherlands hopes this will help the court to become a more efficient and effective institution, whilst fully respecting the independence of the office of the prosecutor and the judges. We all have work to do. States should improve their cooperation with the court by promptly executing outstanding arrest warrants, as is our obligation under the Rome Statute. States should conclude new framework agreements to cooperate voluntarily with the court on witness relocation, receiving released persons, and enforcing sentences. And finally, states should support the court by paying their contributions. This is the only way to ensure that the ICC can remain financially sustainable and carry out its mandate. Because justice isn't free. It requires dedication, effort, and funding. The ASP can supply all three. It can also help to expand the ICC system by encouraging non-member states to ratify the Rome Statute and by stepping up efforts to gain universal support for the court's mandate. To do this, we need all stakeholders in the international community, including civil society organizations, whose contributions to the further development of the ICC are important and highly appreciated. Together we can create a climate in which inherent human rights and dignities are respected. Together we can add a new chapter to the history of international justice. Thank you.
I thank His Excellency for his statement and now give the floor to His Excellency Mr. Iván Lima Magne from the plurinational state of Bolivia.
Señora Presidenta, señores representantes de los Estados partes del Estatuto de Roma, tengo el agrado y privilegio de dirigirme a ustedes en representación del Estado Plurinacional de Bolivia en ocasión de la 20ª Asamblea de los Estados partes del Estatuto de Roma de la Corte Penal Internacional. Hago propicia esta oportunidad para transmitirles un respetuoso saludo de nuestro presidente constitucional, Luis Arce Catacora. Inicio mi intervención manifestando nuestra felicitación al recientemente electo fiscal Karim Kam. De igual modo, extendemos nuestras felicitaciones a los próximos fiscales adjuntos, cuyas funciones, estamos seguros, se desempeñarán velando por la integridad de la Administración de Justicia y el pleno respeto de las normas que rigen el funcionamiento de la Corte. Estamos convencidos de que la creación de la Corte Penal Internacional ha supuesto un progreso significativo para la justicia internacional. Sin la creación de este tribunal permanente, muchos crímenes internacionales habrían permanecido impunes. Sin embargo, la comunidad internacional en su conjunto aún puede realizar progresos significativos para fortalecer y proteger este tribunal. Algunas de esas medidas están en manos de nuestros gobiernos e implican consentir los principales instrumentos de la Corte. Otras, en cambio, requieren la acción colectiva. Al respecto, el pasado año observamos con perplejidad la imposición de sanciones unilaterales sobre altos funcionarios de la Corte. Afortunadamente, tales medidas que obstaculizaron la función judicial internacional han sido revocadas y hacemos votos para que todos los estados, sean o no partes en el Estatuto de Roma, se abstengan de imponer medidas ilegítimas e ilícitas que debilitan a esta importante instancia judicial. Es tarea colectiva en este foro y otros de alcance universal o regional expresar nuestro rechazo a tales sanciones. Señores representantes, el Estado Plurinacional de Bolivia es uno de los países más comprometidos con el derecho penal internacional. Por ejemplo, nuestro país ha expresado su consentimiento a los principales instrumentos en esta materia. Deseamos recordar que Bolivia fue Estado negociador del Estatuto de Roma y ratificó ese instrumento el año 2002. Asimismo, nuestro país ha ratificado la enmienda sobre el crimen de agresión, habiendo depositado el instrumento de ratificación en diciembre del año 2020. Del mismo modo, deseo anunciar que Bolivia ya inició el proceso de ratificación de la enmienda al artículo 8 del Estatuto de Roma, el cual incorpora nuevos actos que configuran crímenes de guerra. Además, el Estado boliviano es parte del Acuerdo sobre los privilegios e inmunidades de la Corte Penal Internacional de septiembre del 2002, habiendo realizado el depósito del instrumento de ratificación en el año 2006. También es importante comunicar a esta Asamblea que los órganos ejecutivo y judicial de Bolivia han cooperado con la Corte cuando así ha sido requerido por ella. Estos hechos ponen de manifiesto nuestro pleno compromiso con la justicia penal internacional y colocan a Bolivia entre los estados más respetuosos del orden jurídico internacional. Sin perjuicio de ese indeclinable compromiso, hacemos votos para que el funcionamiento de la Corte y sus órganos se mantenga apegado al derecho internacional y, ante todo, sea respetuoso de su carácter complementario y subsidiario respecto a las jurisdicciones nacionales, particularmente en aquellas circunstancias donde los casos o situaciones remitidos a la Corte tienen un carácter esencialmente político y no cumplen con los estándares jurídicos trazados en la propia práctica judicial del tribunal. Estamos conscientes que los progresos realizados pueden profundizarse. Por ello, en esta ocasión deseamos comunicar a los Estados partes, así como a la Corte Penal Internacional, que nuestro Ministerio de Justicia y Transparencia Institucional ha comenzado estudios para la redacción de normas nacionales que contribuirán a la implementación de los crímenes internacionales previstos en el Estatuto de Roma, al ordenamiento jurídico interno boliviano y a la facilitación de la cooperación internacional con la Corte. Indudablemente, estas normas serán debatidas a diversos niveles y con la mayor cantidad de actores posibles, a fin de sentar bases sólidas para la prevención y juzgamiento de crímenes internacionales a través de las propias autoridades judiciales bolivianas. Esta tarea será compleja, pero aceptaremos con beneplácito la cooperación técnica que la Corte pueda brindarnos para llegar a la meta. Señora Presidenta, señores representantes, culmino mi intervención reafirmando la importancia cardinal de la Corte Penal Internacional para garantizar el acceso a la justicia penal internacional. Hacemos un llamado cordial y fraternal a todos los estados a continuar fortaleciendo este tribunal, mediante la ratificación de sus principales instrumentos, así como cooperando con ella cuando sea requerido. La construcción de una sociedad internacional libre de impunidad requiere de nuestra firme voluntad para fortalecer instituciones internacionales como la Corte Penal Internacional. Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias. Agradezco a Su Excelencia por su intervención. And now give the floor to Her Excellency Ms. Eva Maria Limets, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Estonia.
Madam President, distinguished delegates, Estonia aligns itself with a statement made by Slovenia on behalf of the European Union and its member states. I would like to begin with congratulations to the newly elected President of the Court, President of the Assembly of States Parties, Prosecutor and 6 judges. I would also like to thank the host country, the Netherlands, for all the efforts in hosting this year's Assembly in the difficult situation of continuing COVID-19 pandemic. We commend the Court for carrying out continuously its judicial activities despite the ongoing difficulties caused by COVID-19 pandemic. Estonia once again expresses our strong support to the ICC to respond to atrocity crimes, fight impunity and ensure justice for the victims of the crimes enshrined in the Rome Statute. Madam President, the ICC, in cooperation with the state parties and other stakeholders, as appropriate, should continue efforts to enhance its efficiency and effectiveness in building up a stronger court with high legal quality and working culture in all sectors of their activities. At the same time, the independence and impartiality of the court ought not to be impinged upon. The effectiveness of the court to fulfill its mandate inevitably depends on the cooperation of the states. We call on all states to fully engage and cooperate with the ICC in executing arrest warrants. The Security Council has to respond decisively to grave violations of international law, and it is prerogative to refer a situation to the court. Although we have seen impasse and division of views on ICC issues, while having been an elected member of the Security Council in 2020 to 2021, we have constantly raised the issues of impunity and accountability and the particular role of ICC in its discussions. We call for the enhancement of cooperation and dialogue between the Court and the Security Council. Madam President, we would like to express our appreciation and support to the work and mandate of the Trust Fund for Victims in offering reparations and assistance to victims, their families and communities. As a regular donor, we would like to repeat our call for all states and other donors to consider making voluntary contributions to the Trust Fund. We are particularly glad that for the first time a candidate from Estonia, Mr. Andres Parmas, Prosecutor General, was elected as a member of the Board of Directors, adding his legal knowledge and experience to the Trust Fund. Estonia has resubmitted his candidature, and we are confident that all the candidates to the Board of Directors of the Trust Fund will gain the unanimous support of the Assembly. Like last year, we have to speak again about the budgetary challenges the Court is facing. It is the duty of every state party to pay its financial contributions in time. We can support the Court by making payments at the earliest possible time. We encourage all states that are in arrears to take steps to eliminate their arrears. Meanwhile, the states serving at the different elected posts or who submit their candidates can set a positive example. Madam President, we would like to bring to your attention and thank Liechtenstein for initiating the work of the Council of Advisors on the application of the Rome Statute to cyber warfare that Estonia was proud to support. This year, the Council of Advisors submitted its final report exploring the role of the ICCC in the regulation of cyber warfare. It is important to acknowledge that experts came to the conclusion that such crimes could currently be prosecutable at the ICC without the need for any statutory amendments. Finally, we reiterate our call on all governments aside from the 123 countries that have already done so to ratify the Rome Statute in order to further strengthen the system of international criminal justice and enable it to provide truly universal protection. Thank you.
I thank Her Excellency for her statement. And now I give the floor to His Excellency, Mr. José Manuel Álvarez Bueno, Ministro de Relaciones Exteriores, Unión Europea y Cooperación de España.
Excelentísima señora Silvia Fernández de Gurmendi, Presidenta de la Asamblea, señores altos dignatarios de la Corte, Excelencias, señoras y señores, es un honor para mí dirigirme este año a la Asamblea de los Estados parte de la Corte Penal Internacional. Quisiera iniciar mis palabras suscribiendo la intervención de la Unión Europea y felicitando al fiscal, el señor Khan, el presidente de la Corte, juez Hofmansky, y a los vicepresidentes, jueza Ibáñez Carranza y juez Kesia Mbemindúa, por su reciente elección. Permítanme también aprovechar esta oportunidad para reiterar el compromiso firme de mi país y de nuestro Gobierno con la Corte y el Estatuto de Roma y su papel central en la lucha contra la impunidad. Este decidido apoyo español es al mismo tiempo exigente en cuanto a la evolución del desempeño y a las necesidades de que se cumpla con las expectativas de las víctimas. En 2021 hemos seguido padeciendo las consecuencias de la pandemia y, a pesar de ello, hemos de reconocer la solidez de la Corte como institución a la hora de mantener su actividad jurisdiccional y el cumplimiento de su mandato. Sirvan estas palabras de agradecimiento a la presidenta, a los jueces, al fiscal, al secretario y a sus equipos por su dedicación y entrega en estas circunstancias difíciles. 2021 comenzó con la buena noticia del levantamiento de las sanciones que los Estados Unidos habían impuesto a la fiscal señora Bensouda y a parte de su equipo. Esperamos que por parte de Estados Unidos ello sea el principio de una mayor colaboración con la Corte. Todas las instituciones de la Corte respondieron a las sanciones con un espíritu de unidad y firmeza que nos hace sentirnos orgullosos. Y mirando hacia adelante, señora presidenta, otra de las grandes iniciativas que reclaman nuestra atención es sin duda el proceso de revisión. Sobre la base del informe de los expertos independientes, comprobamos el temprano análisis y, en buena medida, la aplicación avanzada de buena parte de las recomendaciones. España ha abogado en este ejercicio por preservar la independencia que el Estatuto confiere a la Corte. Gracias a este impulso, señora presidenta, y al de los responsables del mecanismo de examen establecido y de los mandatos de los grupos de trabajo de La Haya y de Nueva York, y también gracias a la implicación constructiva de los Estados y de la sociedad civil, consideramos que avanzamos positivamente. Estamos convencidos de que la revisión servirá para fortalecer a la Corte y mejorar su funcionamiento, y pensamos que ello contribuirá, en definitiva, a conseguir el objetivo de alcanzar su universalidad. Cuenten con España para seguir participando en el ejercicio como Estado parte y como miembro activo de la mesa de la Asamblea en los próximos años. La importancia que España viene otorgando a varias de las iniciativas emprendidas desde el nuevo liderazgo en la Corte, especialmente desde la Fiscalía, es algo que quiero subrayar. España estima que la posición de la Fiscalía es idónea para potenciar el sistema a través de dos ejes: la prevención y la complementariedad. La Fiscalía solo puede alcanzar sus objetivos forjando asociaciones operativas con las autoridades de los Estados miembros y otros mecanismos internacionales, de forma que el sistema funcione como una maquinaria impulsada por una complementariedad cooperativa. Elegimos en esta Asamblea a los fiscales adjuntos, piezas claves. Me permito hacer una llamada a los Estados a decidir en esta elección aplicando mérito, excelencia y máxima consideración moral, y teniendo en cuenta que el resultado debe responder a la diversidad de género, geográfica y jurídica. Quiero hacer una especial referencia a las víctimas, el epicentro del sistema. España reitera su compromiso con la restauración de la justicia y con la asistencia a los supervivientes de los crímenes atroces que investiga y enjuicia la Corte Penal Internacional. Vamos a seguir apoyando financieramente al Fondo Fiduciario para las Víctimas. Elegiremos en esta Asamblea un nuevo Consejo de Directores. Les animo a que prosigan la buena labor del Consejo saliente, quienes con altruismo y con la ayuda del Secretariado han proseguido con la doble tarea: reparación y asistencia a las víctimas. Termino, señor presidente, deseándoles unas fructíferas jornadas y, como no puede ser de otra manera, haciendo un llamamiento en nombre de la justicia a todos los miembros de la comunidad internacional a cooperar con la Corte en su lucha contra la impunidad y en la prevención de los crímenes atroces. Muchas gracias.
Agradezco a su excelencia por su intervención and now give the floor to His Excellency Mr. Augusto Santos Silva, Minister of State for Foreign Affairs of Portugal.
Madam President, distinguished delegates, it is with great honor that I once more address the Assembly of States Parties to the Rome Statute. I wish to begin by congratulating you, Madam President, as well as the new 6 judges and the prosecutor for your election at the last session of this Assembly. Portugal obviously shares the views expressed by Slovenia on behalf of the European Union. I would like to further underline some particular issues of relevance to my country. Madam President, next year we will stand at this very Assembly and celebrate the 20th anniversary of the entry into force of the Rome Statute and of the International Criminal Court as a fully operational court. The ICC is now an established institution. Its increasing level of activity is a testimony to that fact. Its role of making accountable those responsible for the most serious crimes of international concern and providing justice to victims of such crimes is of paramount importance, including for establishing the conditions for a sustainable peace in communities torn by conflict and wide-scale violence. The Court has been confronted with many adversities over the past years, and new challenges are rising as it continues carrying out its mandate. It is thus crucial that states remain undeterred in their support to the ICC and stay committed to having a comprehensive and constructive dialogue while respecting the integrity and independence of the court as a judicial institution. Furthermore, states should continue their efforts to cooperate with the court so that it may perform the role it has been given by all our countries. As the ICC enters a new stage in its life, it is important that the court and states parties continue endeavoring to improve its efficiency and effectiveness. Therefore, Portugal praises the review process which is currently in progress and welcomes the efforts made both by the court and states parties to address the report of independent experts, specifically the recommendations contained therein. We must continue taking joint action in this matter and maintain a dialogue between all relevant stakeholders throughout this process. It is our belief that this process will lead not only to an increase of the effectiveness of the court, but also to a better overall perception of the ICC and of its fundamental role. This session, the Assembly will elect new deputy prosecutors. They should be individuals of the highest quality with a high moral character. Portugal was encouraged by the fact that the process set in place for this election seemed to have drawn already from lessons learned from the last process for the election of the prosecutor. Portugal would like to reiterate its strong commitment to the international criminal law and to the values it represents. We will continue supporting its work as well as its independence. Towards this end, it is my honor to inform this Assembly that on the 16th of May, Portugal deposits the instrument of ratification of the amendment to Article 8 of the Rome Statute adopted in 2019, accepting that the intentional use of starvation of civilians as a method of warfare constitutes a war crime also in non-international armed conflicts. Allow me to conclude my statement by expressing Portugal's full commitment to working with you, Madam President, and the other delegations towards a successful session of the Assembly of States Parties to the Rome Statute. Thank you.
I thank His Excellency for his statement y ahora doy la palabra al Ministro de Relaciones Exteriores, Comercio Internacional y Culto, Su Excelencia señor Santiago Andrés Cafiero, de Argentina.
Señora Presidenta, es un honor para mí tener la oportunidad de representar a la República Argentina en el inicio de esta 20ª Asamblea de Estados Parte. En primer lugar, quisiera recordar que en 2023 se cumplen 25 años de la adopción del Estatuto de Roma, que constituye un hito fundamental para la construcción de un mundo basado en el Estado de Derecho y en la lucha contra la impunidad de los crímenes más graves de trascendencia internacional. La Argentina participó activamente en el proceso de negociación que resultó en este tratado esencial y apoyó desde entonces las actividades de la Corte y de la Asamblea que tiene el honor de presidir actualmente a través de Silvia Fernández de Gurmendi. Es un motivo de orgullo para nuestro país ser el único Estado parte que suscribió los 4 acuerdos de cooperación con el Tribunal. La colaboración de los Estados para que la Corte pueda cumplir cabalmente su mandato es uno de los pilares centrales del sistema de estatuto. Por lo que celebramos que en el seno de la Asamblea se dedique un segmento especial de debate sobre este tema. Igualmente, la Argentina otorga importancia a otras formas de cooperación que contribuyen a reforzar la capacidad de los Estados para cumplir con su responsabilidad primaria de investigar y juzgar. En este sentido, quisiera mencionar la iniciativa de asistencia legal mutua y extradición para crímenes atroces impulsada por Argentina, Bélgica, Eslovenia, Mongolia, Países Bajos y Senegal. La elaboración de un tratado multilateral sobre esta materia ayudará sustancialmente a fortalecer el principio de complementariedad del Estatuto. Señora Presidenta, para que la Corte pueda desarrollar plenamente sus actividades, se deben redoblar los esfuerzos para procurar la universalidad de su estatuto. Asimismo, apoyamos firmemente los desarrollos del mecanismo de revisión que se encuentra en curso, lo cual contribuirá, sin dudas, al fortalecimiento y a una mayor legitimidad del sistema. Permítame terminar mi intervención reiterando el firme compromiso de la Argentina con la Corte Penal Internacional. Tenga la seguridad que nuestro país contribuirá con todos los esfuerzos que persigan la consolidación de una Corte universal, independiente, imparcial y eficaz. Este espíritu continuará guiando nuestra participación en este foro. Muchas gracias.
Agradezco a Su Excelencia por su intervención. And now I give the floor to Her Excellency Ms. Anniken Huitfeldt, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Norway.
Madam President, it's a great privilege to address this assembly on behalf of Norway. Norway is a staunch supporter of the ICC and a consistent partner in the fight against impunity. The court has shown resilience during a challenging time. It has maintained an impressive level of activity under difficult circumstances. I would like to thank the court's officials and staff. The continued backing of the state parties is crucial. We must protect our court. Norway remains committed to do so. We will support the court in all relevant forums, including as an elected member of the Security Council. Madam President, to safeguard the court's vital role, we must deliver on reform. The ongoing review process is of great importance. Norway seeks to promote a strong and independent court. We welcome the recommendations of the independent experts. Now they must be implemented. And this must be done effectively. With a focus on results, Norway fully supports the adoption of a resolution on the review process. Improving the governance of the court is a priority. We need a healthy working culture, gender equality and integrity. These are essential to the court's reputation and success. We will also focus on increasing effectiveness and efficiency, from preliminary examinations to the end of the judicial process. We encourage the prosecutor to continue to promote a culture of independent and a critical quality control. Madam President, to carry out its mission, the court needs to be properly funded. It needs to have sufficient resources to meet the increased demand. The court's liquidity situation gives cause of great concern. We call on state parties to ensure the timely, full payment of contributions. Madam President, let me conclude by repeating Norway's strong commitment to the ICC. We look forward to discuss how to strengthen the court and the Rome Statute system. Thank you.
I thank Her Excellency for her intervention. And now I would like to give the floor to His Excellency, Mr. Kiriowa Kiwanuka, Attorney General of Uganda, who is going to address us in person today. You have the floor, sir.
The President of the Assembly of States Parties, the heads of delegation and representatives of states parties, the judges of the International Criminal Court, the prosecutor of the International Criminal Court, officers of the International Criminal Court, ladies and gentlemen. Madam President, on behalf of my delegation, I take this opportunity to salute you for the excellent manner in which you have steered the business of this assembly since your election last year, and to assure you of my country's support and cooperation during your session. I also take this opportunity to congratulate Mr. Karim Khan on his election as prosecutor of the International Criminal Court, and to pledge my country's support to his work in the same way we have supported all his predecessors in office. In the same vein, I take the opportunity to pay tribute to the immediate past prosecutor, Ms. Fatou Bensouda, for the long and dedicated service to the court, and to wish her success in her future endeavors. I would like to also congratulate the newly appointed judges and wish them well as they undertake this noble task. Madam President, allow me to begin my remarks by reiterating to this Assembly Uganda's unwavering commitment to the fight against impunity within her borders and beyond. And as we have previously done, we wish to remind this Assembly that Uganda was the first state in January 2004 to make a referral to the ICC following its coming into force in 2002. By making that referral, Uganda afforded the court its first opportunity to put the Rome Statute to the test and to perfect its modus operandi. From the time of this referral to this date, Uganda continues to work closely with the court in performing its mandate, both within the country and elsewhere on the African continent. We hope to remain a reliable, committed partner to the court in pursuit of its mandate. Madam President, as we have also informed this distinguished assembly on several occasions, Uganda remains steadfast in its efforts to lift the complementarity principle from the pages of the Rome Statute and of hundreds of academic journals out to the reality. The International Crimes Division of the High Court of Uganda, about which we have had the opportunity to address this assembly on previous occasions, is now a pillar of our judicial setup, and we appreciate the interest that partners across the globe, including the court, have had in its operations. The division's jurisdiction as well as its rules of procedure mirror those of the ICC, and this has established the division as a capable and credible alternative to the court, which is what the Rome Statute, which establishes the ICC as only a court of last resort, is all about. Presently, there are 34 cases pending before the court, which is testimony to its institutional crystallization over the last 10 years. The division is well on its path to creating international criminal law precedents by its decisions and presently offers a platform for internship for scholars and students of international criminal law. Thus, Uganda now has the capacity to domestically deal with any matters falling under the jurisdiction of the court on the basis of the same standards as those of the court. Madam President, allow me to use this opportunity to remind this court of its cardinal role, which is ensuring that the victims of the atrocities receive justice. Key to this is the strict adherence to the gravity threshold principle, which is Article 17(1)(d) of the Rome Statute. This requires that the relevant organs of the court promptly dismiss frivolous, usually politically informed complaints that every now and then make their way to this institution. By doing so, the ICC will be able to maintain its due gravitas and to maintain and remain a court of last resort as it was designed to be. Madam President, we welcome the conviction by the court in February 2021 of Mr. Dominic Ongwen, one of the first persons to be indicted by this court in 2005, for atrocities committed against the people of northern Uganda for 18 years. We believe that the conviction is a victory for the victims and a milestone for the court. However, we must remind ourselves that the main architect of the atrocities, Joseph Kony, remains at large outside the borders of Uganda, and that his continued evasion of the law represents a major failure on the part of the international community. It's our hope that he too will be held to account, and soon. Madam President, allow me to observe that Uganda welcomes the fact that the court has, as we are informed, opened investigations in places outside Africa, which we believe will enhance the credibility of the court. It is no secret that for a long time, the court has not been successful in dispelling the notion in some quarters that it's not a global court, but a court designed to target Africa and Africans. Even its most ardent advocates have had a hard time countering the accusation in the face of the statistics, and yet there has never been a shortage of cases outside the continent that merit the attention of the court. If the court can ensure that investigations outside Africa result in indictments and trials, and that the decisions to prosecute is reached without partiality, it will serve the court and the entire Rome Statute well. With regard to the prosecutions that have been pursued in the court, there is need to address the issue of bias in the choice of whom to hold accountable. There are instances where parties to a conflict have committed atrocities and only one side, in some instances the side that reacted in defense, is prosecuted while the instigator is not held to account. This portrays the system as biased and unprincipled. Madam President, allow me to conclude by reiterating my country's keenness on a continued close relationship with the court, and by wishing everyone here great deliberations over the next 6 days. I thank you.
I thank you for your intervention. And now I give the floor to Her Excellency Ms. Ingrid Brokova, State Secretary, Ministry of Foreign and European Affairs of Slovakia.
Aligning myself with the statement made on behalf of the European Union, I have the honor to address the Assembly with further observations in national capacity. At the outset, I would like to congratulate the new President and Vice Presidents, the Prosecutor, as well as the judges elected during the previous session of the Assembly. I also wish to reiterate the profound belief of Slovakia that the mere existence of a permanent international judicial organ having jurisdiction over the most heinous crimes under international law reflects the universal nature of the rule of law and accountability. The imperative of justice and humanity are reflected in the Rome Statute. the International Criminal Court makes sure that these general rules and aspirations are applied to very specific situations, thereby bringing justice to communities affected by conflict and making a contribution to sustainable peace and reconciliation. Madam President, 2021 has been a very eventful year for the Rome Statute system and the International Criminal Court. The newly elected officials have assumed their offices at a critical juncture for the court. The momentum carried by the new leadership of the court must be used for the strengthening of the court by making it more efficient, effective, and fit for the achievement of the noble goals enshrined in the Rome Statute. The ongoing review process carries a huge, once-in-a-generation potential. We must ensure that this potential is materialized to its fullest extent. The group of independent experts has unveiled many pertinent issues and recommended possible measures to address them. The discussions have already yielded tangible results, for example, the agreement on the procedure of rule of amendments. Legal certainty, combined with the ability to adapt to practical challenges to the judicial work, are crucial for the proper operation of the court. We are confident that the resolution the Assembly will adopt at this session will achieve exactly this. Madam President, Slovakia firmly believes that political and practical support to the cause of the fight against impunity and specifically to the International Criminal Court must go hand in hand. The court, by granting a strong voice to victims, has been a beacon of hope for conflict-torn communities. In this regard, we appreciate the work done by the Trust Fund for Victims, fulfilling both its reparation and assistance mandates. It is therefore my pleasure to announce that Slovakia will make a voluntary contribution to the Trust Fund again this year. Furthermore, Slovakia is negotiating the terms of a bilateral agreement on voluntary cooperation with the court. I firmly believe that discussion will come to a fruitful conclusion, whereby Slovakia would provide a very practical support for the fulfillment of the court's mandate. To conclude, Madam President, Slovakia wishes to record its unwavering support for the court. We remain determined to continue working constructively with all partners for a successful system of international criminal justice. I thank you.
I thank Her Excellency for her statement and now give the floor to His Excellency Mr. Martin Smolek, Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Czech Republic.
Madam President, the Czech Republic fully supports the statement delivered on behalf of the European Union and its member states, and wishes to add a few remarks in its national capacity. Since the last year, a lot has changed. Turning to the ICC organization itself, let me congratulate the new prosecutor, Mr. Karim Khan, on assuming his function half a year ago. We wish to confirm that the office of the prosecutor can count on the Czech Republic's support. We also congratulate the new president of the court, Judge Piotr Hofmański, on his election, and the new president of the Assembly, Mrs. Silvia Fernandez de Gurmendi. Madam President, the ICC has proven itself a successful organization, enjoying a broad support of states and prepared to engage in the follow-up of the review process. We are ready to continue to engage actively in its governance as a current bureau member. Without any doubts, the core functions of the court are those of judicial nature. We are pleased to see that even in times of pandemic, the court continued to deal with and even increase its workload. We fully recognize the link to adequate financial resources, and we are ready to pay our contribution immediately, as every year. We call on all state parties to do the same. Finally, let me mention that the Czech Republic will financially contribute to the Trust Fund for Victims also this year. Thank you.
I thank His Excellency for his statement and give now the floor to Her Excellency Ms. Livia Leu, State Secretary, Federal Department of Foreign Affairs of Switzerland.
Madame la Présidente, dans ces temps de pandémie, la Cour pénale internationale est plus que jamais nécessaire. Nous l'avons créée pour amener les auteurs à répondre de leurs actes criminels et pour mettre un terme à l'impunité. Une Cour pénale internationale forte et indépendante peut dissuader les auteurs potentiels. Le soutien indéfectible de la Suisse va donc de pair avec notre engagement en faveur d'une Cour pénale internationale efficace. Il s'agit d'une priorité de notre politique étrangère. Nous continuerons à œuvrer en ce sens cette semaine et à l'avenir. L'Assemblée devrait profiter de cette session pour renforcer la Cour et le système du statut de Rome. La Suisse plaide pour 4 actions en ce sens. Premièrement, nous devons mettre en pratique les recommandations des experts indépendants. Il faut en particulier garantir l'indépendance des juges et du procureur de la Cour. De nombreuses recommandations ont été examinées et mises en œuvre au cours des 12 derniers mois. Nous saluons les échanges fructueux à cet égard et remercions tous ceux qui y ont contribué. Nous sommes particulièrement reconnaissants envers le mécanisme d'examen pour sa coordination transparente. Nous devons poursuivre sur cette lancée conformément au plan d'action complet. La Suisse continuera à s'engager dans ce processus. Deuxièmement, la Cour ne peut remplir son mandat que si nous lui fournissons les ressources nécessaires. Cette responsabilité nous incombe. Nous appelons les États parties à payer leur dû. Les contributions tardives ou impayées prolongent les enquêtes et les procès. Elles retardent la justice pour les victimes. Troisièmement, il est essentiel de nommer et élire les personnes les plus qualifiées aux postes clés. Cette année, nous élirons 2 procureurs adjoints. Dans 2 ans, nous élirons de nouveaux juges. Il faut utiliser les mois à venir pour renforcer encore davantage nos procédures de nomination et d'élection, tant au niveau national qu'au sein de l'Assemblée. Nous venons d'établir un processus de vérification des candidats. La Suisse se félicite de ce premier pas important. Cette vérification devrait désormais être effectuée pour toutes les nominations importantes. Enfin, et quatrièmement, nous invitons les États parties à ratifier les amendements du statut de Rome. La Cour doit pouvoir assurer la reddition des comptes pour les crimes les plus graves dans les conflits actuels. Dans de nombreux conflits armés non internationaux, la famine est utilisée comme méthode de guerre contre les civils. L'Assemblée des États parties a amendé le statut de Rome en 2019 afin que la Cour soit compétente pour ce crime de guerre. Il est essentiel que nous poursuivions nos efforts et ratifions les amendements du statut de Rome. Cela contribue à une Cour plus efficace et à la prévention de plus amples souffrances. Madame la Présidente, la Cour a été établie pour prévenir et enquêter sur les crimes les plus graves, quels qu'en soient les auteurs. Elle est une institution judiciaire indépendante et impartiale régie par le droit. L'importante charge de travail de la Cour montre à quel point nous avons besoin de cette institution aujourd'hui. Engageons-nous ensemble au cours de cette session de l'Assemblée pour renforcer et soutenir la Cour et le système du statut de Rome. Vous pouvez compter sur la Suisse. Je vous remercie.
I thank Her Excellency for her statement, and now I give the floor to His Excellency Mr. Benedetto della Vedova, Vice Minister of Foreign Affairs of Italy.
Madam President, I'm honored to address the Assembly of States Parties on behalf of the Italian government. Italy fully aligns itself with the intervention delivered on behalf of the European Union and its member states, and I will add a few remarks in my national capacity. Italy has always been in the forefront of the development of an effective international criminal justice system. And 23 years after hosting the conference that adopted the Rome Statute, I wish to reiterate my country's unwavering support to the International Criminal Court, which remains an indispensable institution and the bulwark, often the last one, against the impunity of perpetrators of the most serious crimes. In a world still plagued by violence, conflict, and gross violations of human rights, we must not turn a deaf ear to the increasing demand for justice coming from the still too many individuals who fall victim of atrocious crimes. For them, the court is a beacon of hope. Italy therefore supports the victim-oriented approach promoted by the court through the participation of victims in the proceedings and the provision of reparations and assistance by the Trust Fund for Victims, to which we contribute. By holding the perpetrators of international crimes accountable and repairing the harm suffered by victims and communities, not only does the court deliver justice, it also contributes to creating the condition for sustainable peace. Madam President, Italy welcomes the significant progress made by the court over the past year in a number of investigations and proceedings, as highlighted by the President of Mansky in the annual report recently presented to the General Assembly. It is the responsibility of state parties to contribute to consolidate this momentum. That implies a renewed commitment to preserving the integrity of the Rome Statute, promoting its universality, respecting the independence of the court, and also equipping it with the necessary financial resources. Indeed, we must reflect together how we can improve the situation around the budget and build a system where we can see better returns for our investment. We note with concern the serious challenges that the court continues to face in relation to its requests for cooperation, including the execution of its outstanding arrest warrants. And we call on states parties to comply with their obligation to cooperate fully with the court in the investigation and prosecution of crimes within its jurisdiction. In this regard, we should use more effectively the tools at our disposal. We also stress the obligations under international law and the UN Charter incumbent upon all UN member states, in particular in cases deferred by the Security Council. The ongoing reform process, which Italy is following with great attention, offers invaluable opportunities to enhance the court's delivery of justice. The approval of the action plan by the Bureau with the indication of the priority recommendations is the first important step in order to make the court more efficient and effective. We believe that the special attention should be paid to the implementation of recommendations aimed at improving the quality and effectiveness of investigations, decision-making, cooperation, and management of financial resources. Italy will continue to contribute to this process in line with the principles of the Rome Statute. And to conclude, Madam President, I am very glad to report that last 4 November, the Italian Parliament adopted the law authorizing the ratification of the Kampala Amendments on the crime of aggression and war crimes. I believe this bears witness to the firm and continued commitment of the Italy's institutions to the quest for justice and accountability, which is enshrined in the Rome Statute, and which ultimately coincides with the centrality that the Italian Constitution accords to the protection of human rights and the promotion of peace. We have invested heavily in the ICC, both politically and financially. We have the responsibility to work together to support into the future, to build buttresses around it, to ensure it can deliver on its mandate for justice. And I thank you for your attention.
I thank His Excellency for his statement, and now I give the floor to His Excellency Ambassador Cyril Jan Noon, Ambassador of Germany to the Netherlands.
Madam President, I am honored to address the Assembly of State Party. The Federal Republic of Germany fully aligns itself with the statement made by the European Union, and please allow me to add some comments in our national capacity. First of all, Germany commends you as President of the Assembly and the team of the Bureau, as well as the Secretariat, for the excellent preparation of the ASP in these difficult times. I would like to congratulate you for having assumed this important position, as well as the prosecutor and the judges who were elected during the last session of the Assembly. Germany pledges its full support for your important work. Madam President, we highly appreciate the International Criminal Court as a solid and integral part of today's international legal order, with its unique mandate to bring justice and fight impunity. Next year, on 1st July, we will mark the 25th anniversary of the entry into force of the Rome Statute of 2002. This is an encouraging success and also a common objective. International crimes must not go unpunished, and their perpetrators must be held accountable. On behalf of my government, I would like to express my gratitude to all who contribute to the success of the Rome Statute. Today and throughout this week, you and the Assembly of States Party, and throughout the whole year, of course, the judges, the prosecutor, the registry, and all staff members, as well as the civil society worldwide. Still, we should also remain modest. The court's scope is still not universal, and atrocity crimes have escaped responsibility and investigation as well as trials. Therefore, we assure the court of our lasting support for its work. In our view, the court's success will depend on the general support of two double pillars. Primarily, independence and impartiality. We remain absolutely convinced that there should not be outside interference or pressure relating to the independence and impartiality of the court. Outside interference or pressure has no place in the work of the court. In another perspective, we would like to encourage the court to avail itself of the opportunity to benefit from the advice of independent experts. Within the ongoing review process, Germany remains committed to further improving the court and its mechanisms. We call upon the court and all parties involved to analyze and act upon the resulting recommendations. Strengthening efficiency and effectiveness is in the court's own interest. This brings me to my second double pillar. We as state parties and the court will need to stay ambitious and active. As to the budget, we have for many years advocated a solid budget process. I'm fully aware that this is a financial challenge, especially in times of the pandemic. Also under these circumstances, we remained a steady supporter of the ICC and a large contributor to the ICC's budget. At the same time, we share the concerns of many other states party about the high amounts of arrears. We urge all state parties to provide the ICC with the necessary financial resources. As the court's workload continues to increase, we cannot expect it to deliver high-quality international justice without adequate capacities. Madam President, allow me to recall the court's critical role in providing a forum for victims to air their grievances and seek redress. In our view, it is also important to secure additional voluntary contributions to the Trust Fund for Victims. Germany has consistently made voluntary contributions to the Trust Fund of Victims as well as the Trust Fund for Family Visits. And I'm glad to inform you that my government is continuing this practice and will contribute another 125,000 euros altogether in this trust fund this year. Madam President, we are of the view that the court also merits the full political support as well as practical cooperation and assistance of states. The ICC's mandate can only be achieved collectively by the court, state parties, as well as civil society. Our contributions must safeguard the judicial independence of the court and the integrity of the Rome Statute. Let us move forward together in rendering the court even stronger. Thank you, Madam President.
I thank you, Ambassador, for your statement. I'll now give the floor to His Excellency Ambassador Matthew E.K. Newhouse, Ambassador of Australia to the Netherlands.
Madam President, honourable ministers, excellencies, colleagues. Madam President, honourable ministers, excellencies, colleagues. First, let me warmly congratulate you on your election to preside over our Assembly, and also to the ICC President Piotr Hofmansky and Prosecutor Karim Khan, QC, who were elected to their significant leadership positions this year. We pay tribute to former Prosecutor Fatou Bensouda and former President Chile Ebu Osuji for their contribution over many years to the court and its mission. I also welcome the 6 newly elected judges who were sworn in on the 10th of March and highlight with pleasure that the International Criminal Court has now reached gender parity on its bench. This new generation of leadership will, we trust, be further strengthened this week when the Assembly elects 2 new deputy prosecutors. By supporting the most highly qualified and meritorious candidates, we can help to ensure that the court is optimally positioned to deliver on its core mandate and necessary reforms in coming years. Madam President, as a strong supporter of accountability and a long-standing supporter of the International Criminal Court, Australia remains firm in its conviction that accountability for atrocity crimes is critical to sustaining peace and supporting reconciliation in post-conflict situations. Accountability for these most serious international crimes is the core of the Court's mandate. We appreciate the commitment of the Court to continue this work undeterred, despite the unique challenges presented by COVID-19 pandemic. We are pleased that the number of active trials with court hearings is forecast to double, from 2 trials in 2021 to 4 trials in 2022. Delivering justice for victims must remain our key objective while pursuing accountability for impunity. This is why Australia was pleased to contribute 300,000 Australian dollars to the Trust Fund for Victims this year. We hope that our contribution, with its particular focus on reparations for victims and survivors of sexual and gender-based violence, underscores that Australia's commitment to gender justice at home and abroad is backed by action. Madam President, Australia thanks the review mechanism for its leadership in continuing to drive review and reform of the ICC as a transparent and inclusive state party-driven process, which must include all relevant stakeholders to be successful. The report of the independent expert review provides an excellent basis for reform, and we appreciate the willingness of the Court to engage in dialogue with states parties on all recommendations. We must maintain momentum and a shared focus on implementing reforms to the Court and the Rome Statute system. As part of this reform process, states parties must urgently address the state of arrears and the liquidity issues facing the Court. We must not allow this to become a persistent and structural issue. We urge all states parties to pay their assessed contributions in full and on time. Madam President, Australia recognises the Court's contribution to the international rules-based order. Australia is of the view that the Court must focus on matters squarely within its core mandate at all stages of the investigatory process, including preliminary examinations. The Court must continue to find ways to deliver robustly, effectively and efficiently within the reality of finite resources. Australia recognises the Court's increased workload next year and the costs associated with delivering on reform, and so supports the budget increase recommended by the Committee on Budget and Finance. Prioritisation, though, will be important going forward. Madam President, the primary responsibility to investigate and, where appropriate, prosecute those responsible for serious international crimes rests with states, and properly so. The ICC's role is as a critical court of last resort, where states that would otherwise have jurisdiction are unable or unwilling to exercise it. This complementary nature of the ICC's jurisdiction is fundamental to its mandate and will be critical to its success. As co-focal point on complementarity, Australia is pleased to have worked so closely with Uganda again this year to facilitate dialogue on this priority review issue. Australia would like to thank the Court and the Office of the Prosecutor in particular for engaging with the Assembly and stakeholders so constructively on the topic. Deeper dialogue is needed to build a better shared understanding of the principle of complementarity, and we look forward to continuing to facilitate the dialogue with the OTP in early 2022 as it reviews its policies and practices. Over the last year, Australia and Uganda have also facilitated consultations on the important issue of sexual and gender-based crimes. We encourage states parties to once again support language in the Omnibus resolution to ensure this dialogue continues in the coming year. Madam President, As we embark on a new year of review and reform, we must not forget that it is individuals in the court, particularly its leaders, who will ultimately deliver change, particularly to the court's internal culture and governance. Australia commits itself to continue its active support and partnership with the court in achieving the success we all wish it to be. Thank you, Madam President.
I thank you, Ambassador, for your statement. And now I give the floor to His Excellency, the Ambassador Riaz Hamidullah, Ambassador of Bangladesh to the Netherlands.
Madam President, a warm felicitation to you for your stewardship as the President of the 20th session of the Assembly. Your wisdom and stewardship we value. We also felicitate all the 6 new judges. Our warm welcome to Mr. Karim Khan as the new prosecutor. He surely would take the standing and credibility of the court with his wisdom and experience. We also place our appreciation to the preceding prosecutor, Madam Fatou Bensouda, as also the outgoing Deputy Prosecutor, James Stewart, for their exemplary contributions. Madam President, Bangladesh values ICC not just as an institution of the present, but also of the future. Bangladesh's commitment to the principle of justice and accountability and our support to the court since 1999 as an independent and impartial judicial institution emanates from our own history and the values, irrespective of our level of economic development. After 2 decades of functioning of ICC, it's crucial for the international community to see that the court can effectively deter the culture of impunity. We join all those who spoke so far in stressing on the universalization of the Rome Statute. It's so very necessary at this point of time to uphold rule of law everywhere. We all are pledge-bound, Madam President, in ensuring that the perpetrators of the humanity's most heinous crimes are brought to justice. Despite our resolute commitment, it's so tragic that in Myanmar, genocidal acts unfolded against the Rohingya population in the Rakhine State. Last month, the United Nations General Assembly adopted a consensus resolution on Myanmar situation. Pursuant to Article 15 of the Rome Statute, those responsible for large-scale deportation of the Rohingya people to Bangladesh from the Rakhine State must be brought to justice and be made accountable. The court's expeditious actions should also help creating crucial enabling environment in the Rakhine State. We look forward to OTP and other organs of the court to sustain momentum in the investigation process. Bangladesh has all along engaged with the authorities in Myanmar in good faith, sincerity, and transparency. As the world asked for justice and accountable for Rohingyas, our intention was infused with the complementarity principle of the Rome Statute and the genocide and crimes against humanity Bangladesh itself went through during our War of Liberation in 1971. Madam President, ICC is increasingly an integral part of global discourse on upholding rule of law. There should be an interface in realizing the Agenda 2030, particularly SDG 16. If we are to further strengthen our existing national laws in conformity with our obligations under Rome Statute, we believe the state parties and regional international organizations would benefit in working towards effectively realizing SDG 16 in furthering complementarity mandate of the Rome Statute. Madam President, ICC is expected to expand innovative programs and engagements under cooperation and outreach activities. While Bangladesh appreciates the court's initiatives to ensure geographic diversity and gender balance in recruitment of the staff of the court, all means need to be creatively exhausted to secure desired geographic diversity and gender balance in the court's staff composition. ICC would need to strengthen its efforts to promote participation of nationals, of underrepresented and non-represented state parties in internship, visiting professionals, and JPO programs of the court. Resourcing the court is a key, particularly with its rising engagements. We reiterate, as we have been hearing from many others, as also what the prosecutor emphasized in the morning plenary, for all states parties to adequately resource the court in full so that the tasks entrusted on it are fully accomplished. Madam President, the reparative role of ICC is a matter of some solace to the victims of atrocity crimes. Our support remains for the new board of directors of TFV, as its appreciable work is high on demand in support of the faithful victims of atrocity crimes worldwide. Finally, Madam President, our appreciation to both the co-facilitators for steering the review mechanism work in a focused manner. As an ad-country focal point, Bangladesh lent her modest bit. Bangladesh would urge all to continue contributing to the state party-driven mechanism process in the next phase. We particularly welcome the fact that some of the recommendations are already on implementation. Madam President, Bangladesh had been at the forefront of the global campaign for the early adoption of the Rome Statute and creation of ICC. As a functioning democracy, Bangladesh remains firm in realizing a just, inclusive, responsible, harmonious world. Our collective works must be geared towards ending impunity for the perpetrators of the most heinous crimes. Justice and accountability must not be a matter of choice. Thank you, Madam.
I thank you, Ambassador, for your statement. And we have now reached the end of the list of speakers for today. I really thank you all for your participation in this debate through videos or in person. I regret that many had needed to cancel their in-person participation today, but I'm really heartened by the extraordinary strong support that has been provided and has been shown today for the court and the Rome Statute system as a whole. We will close the debate for today. We are still struggling to solve the technical issue. We would like to be able to complete the video by Liechtenstein. Hopefully we will be able to do it tomorrow. And we will continue the general debate tomorrow at 10 o'clock in the morning. I urge you to try to be on time so we can start on time as well. And today I would like to announce that at 6 o'clock here in this plenary hall, there will be informal consultations on the review mechanism. These informals will be held here in the plenary as of 18 hours, 6 o'clock, that is in 20 minutes. So you have the time to relax a bit and then come back at 6 o'clock. I thank you very much. This meeting is adjourned.